They mocked my appearance, my weight, my clothes, my face. They laughed at me behind my back. They whispered when I walked by. They made me feel invisible. But what they didn't know was the transformation I was hiding. They thought I was nothing. Until I walked back into their lives as someone they never expected. And when I did, their faces said everything. My name is Amy Richardson. I'm 30 years old, and I work as a project coordinator at a mid-sized marketing firm in downtown Denver, Colorado. I've worked there for 4 years. I'm good at my job. I meet deadlines. I'm organized. I'm reliable. But to my coworkers, I was invisible. Or worse, I was a punchline. I've always struggled with my weight. I've never been thin. I've tried diets. I've tried exercise. But nothing ever stuck. Between work stress, emotional eating, and low self-esteem, I stayed the same. And people noticed. Or rather, they made sure I noticed that they noticed. I also didn't have a lot of money to spend on clothes. I wore simple, affordable outfits. Jeans and sweaters. Plain blouses. Nothing trendy. Nothing expensive. I did my best with what I had. But in an office full of people who cared about appearances, I stood out for all the wrong reasons. There were 2 women in particular who made my life miserable. Vanessa and Lily. Vanessa was the ringleader. She was pretty, polished, and mean. She had that fake nice energy where she'd smile at you while destroying you. Lily was her follower. She laughed at everything Vanessa said, even when it wasn't funny. Especially when it wasn't funny. They made comments. Little digs. Always with a smile. Always in front of other people. Amy, that sweater is so cute. Very thrift store chic. Did you get that from your mom's closet? If you lost a few pounds, maybe you'd find a boyfriend. Every comment felt like a tiny cut. And over time, those cuts added up. I started to believe them. I started to think maybe I was the problem. Maybe I was ugly. Maybe I was unlovable. Maybe I deserved to be treated this way. Sometimes the worst wounds aren't physical. They're the wounds from being seen as less than human. The mockery got worse over time. Vanessa became bolder. She'd make jokes in meetings. She'd whisper loud enough for me to hear. She'd look me up and down and smirk. One day, we were in the break room. I was making coffee. Vanessa walked in with Lily and a few other coworkers. She looked at my sweater and said loudly, "Wow, Amy! Did that sweater come free with a cereal box?" Everyone laughed. I forced a smile and turned back to my coffee. But my hands were shaking. Another time, someone took a photo of me walking to my desk. They added a filter to make me look bigger and posted it in the group chat with a laughing emoji. People thought it was hilarious. I reported it to HR, but nothing happened. They said it was just a joke. I started eating lunch alone. I stopped going to team events. I avoided the break room. I made myself as small and invisible as possible. But it didn't stop the comments. It didn't stop the stares. It didn't stop the humiliation. One day, the team planned a dinner. A fancy restaurant downtown. I overheard them talking about it in the hallway. I wasn't invited. When I walked past, Vanessa saw me and said, "Oh, Amy, we didn't think you'd feel comfortable there. You know, it's kind of a dressy place." Lily giggled. I nodded and walked away. I went to the bathroom and cried. I heard whispers all the time. "She's too plain. She has no style. She'll always be invisible." One day, their mockery finally broke me. It was our company's annual team building day. We went to a park for games, food, and group photos. I didn't want to go, but it was mandatory. During the photo session, the photographer gathered everyone together. Vanessa, who always had to be in charge, started directing people. She pointed at me and said, "Amy, you stand in front. That way you can hide everyone else." People laughed. Not everyone. But enough. I stood there, frozen. My hands were shaking. My throat was tight. I forced a smile, but inside I was crumbling. Someone whispered loud enough for me to hear, "Amy ruins every picture." I stood there for the photo. I smiled. I pretended I was fine. But I wasn't. I went home that night and cried for hours. I looked at myself in the mirror and hated what I saw. I hated my body. I hated my face. I hated myself. And then something inside me snapped. I was done. I was done being invisible. I was done being the punchline. I was done letting people treat me like I didn't matter. But I didn't want to change for them. I didn't want to lose weight so Vanessa would approve of me. I didn't want to dress better so Lily would stop laughing. I wanted to change for me. I wanted to feel strong, confident, proud of myself. So I made a plan. And I kept it secret. I hired a personal trainer. Her name was Jenna, and she was kind, supportive, and tough. She didn't judge me. She didn't make me feel bad about where I was starting. She just helped me set goals and work toward them. I started waking up at 5 in the morning to work out before work. I went to the gym after work. I meal prepped on Sundays. I cut out junk food. I drank more water. I tracked my progress. I pushed myself harder than I ever had before. I also started therapy. I worked on my mental health. I worked on my self-esteem. I worked on setting boundaries. I learned that my worth wasn't determined by how other people saw me. It was determined by how I saw myself. I saved up money and invested in myself. I got a haircut. I bought a few quality pieces of clothing that made me feel good. I took care of my skin. I practiced makeup. I started dressing in a way that made me feel confident, not invisible. But I didn't tell anyone. I didn't post on social media. I didn't update my coworkers. I just quietly worked on becoming the best version of myself. And the best part? They had no idea what was coming. 6 months passed. I'd lost 40 pounds. I'd gained muscle. I'd changed my hair. I'd upgraded my wardrobe. But more than that, I'd changed my mindset. I was no longer the woman who shrank herself to avoid being noticed. I was strong. I was confident. I was proud. And then the company announced the annual gala. A formal event at a fancy hotel. Black tie dress code. Everyone was excited. Vanessa bragged about the designer gown she'd bought. Lily talked about getting her hair and nails done professionally. One day in the break room, Lily looked at me and said, "I bet Amy will wear her old sweater." Vanessa laughed. Or maybe she'll borrow something from her grandma. I just smiled. We'll see. They had no idea I was about to walk into that room as a completely different woman. The night of the gala arrived. I spent hours getting ready. I wore a fitted black dress that hugged my new figure. I got my hair styled in soft waves. My makeup was flawless. I wore heels that made me feel powerful. I looked in the mirror and didn't recognize myself. But in the best way. When I walked into the hotel ballroom, everything stopped. People turned. Conversations paused. Jaws dropped. Vanessa was standing near the entrance with Lily and a group of coworkers. She looked at me. Her eyes widened. Her mouth fell open. She whispered something to Lily, who looked equally stunned. I walked past them with my head held high. I didn't say anything. I just smiled. One of the male coworkers, Derek, who'd never spoken to me before, walked over. "Amy? Wow. You look incredible." I looked at him calmly. "Thank you. But I didn't change for you." He looked confused. I walked away. Throughout the evening, people kept staring, whispering, asking questions. Is that really Amy? What happened to her? She looks like a completely different person. Vanessa couldn't help herself. She walked over to me, drink in hand, fake smile plastered on her face. "So, Amy. Big transformation, huh? You think you're better than us now?" I looked at her. Calm. Steady. "I don't think I'm better than anyone, Vanessa. But I am better than the version of me you tried to destroy." Her smile faltered. Lily, standing behind her, tried to jump in. "We were just joking around. You know that, right?" I turned to Lily. "If someone cries because of your jokes, you're not funny. You're cruel." Lily looked away. A few people nearby overheard. They nodded in agreement. Vanessa's power was slipping. But the real twist came next. At the end of the night, our CEO stood up to give awards. Employee of the Quarter. Best Team Player. Outstanding Performance. And then he said my name. Amy Richardson, for exceptional project leadership and dedication. I walked to the stage. The room clapped. Vanessa and Lily sat frozen. I accepted the award, smiled, and gave a short speech thanking my team. When I walked back to my seat, I passed Vanessa and Lily's table. I stopped. I looked at them. And I said quietly, "You mocked my appearance, but you never saw my strength. Or my potential. Or my worth." I walked away. I didn't look back. The next week, things changed. People treated me differently. With respect. With curiosity. With admiration. Vanessa and Lily stopped making comments. They avoided me. And honestly, I didn't care. I didn't transform for revenge. I transformed because I deserved to feel good about myself. Because I deserved to be healthy. Because I deserved to be confident. If anyone ever made you feel small, remember this. Their words reflect their insecurities, not your value. Your transformation doesn't have to be public. Grow quietly. And let success be the loudest part of your story. Tell me in the comments if someone has ever underestimated you. Like and subscribe for more true-to-life revenge and transformation stories. Thank you for listening.